and we're back. So I don't know what happened there, but I lost internet connection basically right at the open. So I wonder if maybe the streaming plus the everything happening with the open, maybe it was too much. But we'll find out. So let's see here. So you have an uptrend, you have a two-legged break that we saw earlier. Now you have a minor uptrend that has a break and new high of its own. You've clearly reached the break and new high here, and you have not held these overnight highs even a little bit. So I'm going to draw a resistance line that might hold as support. I'm expecting prices to come back and test this level, at least just to see if it'll hold. But right now there's not really much for me to do. There's a clear up bias, so I might be looking to go long potentially, but right now there's just nothing for me to do. I see that this could be a spike in channel up, so you might get something like this. We're just gonna have to watch and see. That's odd. So right now, like I said, there's a clear up bias. I'm expecting that this will probably continue, but everything to the upside has played out so far. So I want to see if prices are able to trade down and through the EMA, or if they're going to continue trading up. I'm also watching to see if this trend is going to end up being correct. There's kind of a lot going on the chart right now. So I'm going to remove some of these lines that aren't really helping me. So just watching and waiting. Another thing to note is I'm looking for a possible measured move for this first leg. So you can see this is a pretty clear trend right here. Whenever it was broken, I'm expecting that we might get another similar leg up like this. So that's my target right now. But if prices don't keep trending up, then I need to be ready to switch. Right now prices are just going sideways. So this tells me that there's probably still buying pressure in the market because, like I said, everything to the upside has played out. This uptrend has played out, this uptrend has played out, and we're still struggling to trade down back to the EMA. We're just trading sideways. So we're testing this larger trend line right now. Let's see if this will hold. Looking like it's not going to hold. It's possible that you do draw it off of the close instead of those lows. I'm just going to delete it and draw another one. So it's possible that you have something like this. So I'm going to keep watching to see if this possibly holds, but it is very uncertain at this point. You're getting a second entry long right here, but I'm not going to take that. Like I said, I'm very uncertain of this trend, even though there's an up bias. Also, it's not off the EMA, and that's one of my rules. So it looks like this trend could be correct because we are sort of holding here. So moving higher, let's see how prices react off of this prior resistance level. We're attempting to turn down at that resistance level and moving higher. Nothing to do here. If prices continue to hold this uptrend, then I'll be looking for trades off of the EMA. But as of right now, there's nothing for me to do. So it looks like this congestive area is continuing to hold, and I'm going to expand it up a little bit. It's possible that was a failed breakout the high side, so let's see how prices react off the support, so that way I can decide. So with prices pushing through the support level, I'm going to pull this back where I had it initially and treat this as a failed breakout the high side, which generally leads to a breakout the opposite side. So I'm still expecting prices to test this prior resistance level, or sorry, just the overnight highs, and possibly hold that as support. So let's see what happens. Gonna move the support down a little bit. Looks like it could be something like right there. So it's possible that this congestive area has just expanded and is just becoming a slightly larger range. So it's possible that it's something like this. But again, let's see if it continues to hold. Nothing for me to take right now. It looks like this trend is probably not correct because you did have 3 touches, which supposedly confirms it, but I would say I'm not going to play that. To me, this looks like an uptrend with a break and then a move to a new high, but this trend was strong enough to necessitate its break and new high of its own. So now you get 2 legs up to a new high. I'm going to move this back. I like the way that that plays out. To me, this looks like a congestive area with a breakout the high side, breakout the low side, a breakout pullback, and then now we're moving lower to test these overnight highs. I'm going to go ahead and draw a downtrend here to see if this ends up being respected. I wouldn't want to trade. Okay, we're moving lower. I'm going to make this a little bit steeper here, something like this. So I wouldn't want to trade directly into this level just in case it holds as support. But as we can see here, it was not held, or did not hold here whenever prices pushed up and through, and now prices have pushed through again. So it's probably not a huge deal. There's some possible resistance up here where this double top is. I'm looking for a short now off the EMA. That was a pretty strong push through the EMA, and to me it looks like everything has played out to the upside, so that's why I'm considering taking a short here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put an order in just in case. Looking like we are not going to get a setup, at least on that bar. It's possible we tick higher and we get a setup here. So maybe something like this is correct. But It's very uncertain at this point. I'm actually just going to take it off because I'm very not sure. So if we tick up here and then have a nice bearish bar, I think I'd still be willing to take this. So I'm going to put a sell order in. We'd have to turn down pretty strongly for me to be interested here. And we're continuing higher.
Order canceled.
So nothing to do there. You can see that this short-term downtrend, which I think it was correct how I had it drawn earlier, something like this, did not play out before prices are moving higher. Of course, they still could play out, but this is a pretty strong move up back through the EMA. So now I'm thinking, okay, is there another uptrend in play? It's possible that maybe this spiking channel is correct. Prices don't just turn in the middle of nowhere, or I guess sometimes they do, but it's pretty uncommon for prices just to turn in the middle of nowhere. So it's likely that prices here either turned off of a trend line or some sort of horizontal support or resistance. So this short-term uptrend is continuing to be pretty strong. There is the double top from earlier, so let's see if prices hold that. So at this point, I am back to having a long bias. It looks like we're going to continue to work higher, but I really want to see how prices react off of this level, because it's possible that this ends up being some larger range resistance, and you end up having a range that looks something like this. It's definitely possible, but right now there's a lot up in the air. Ideally, what I'd like to see, at least for a long, is for prices to break up and above this resistance level that I keep mentioning, and then come back and test this trend, confirming this spiking channel to me. That's what I'd like to see. I don't know if you'll get that. That's kind of like the perfect case scenario. Clearly the short-term uptrend is still in play, but it looks like it might be broken right here. You could draw this a little bit tighter, something like that, in which case you have a break in new high. But it's questionable whether prices have a break in new high here. A more aggressive trader might consider a short in this area because it looks like two legs up. It looks like the short-term uptrend has a break in new high and you're coming off of a triple test. So if you got a good signal bar here, a more aggressive trader might consider a short, but that's out of my skill level. So no bearish bar, and we are pushing past these previous highs. Prices could still reject here, but I'm not sure. Just have to wait and see what happens. So this is a decently bearish bar here. Again, a more aggressive trader might consider taking a short there, but it's out of my skill level. I don't think that I would hit those very consistently, so I'm not willing to take something like that. Also, you'll notice that each one of these highs is higher. So this high is higher than this one, and this high is higher than this one. And ideally, whenever you see a triple test, you want to see them either lower or equal. So that is one thing against this possible trade. So still expecting the prices are probably going to move towards this measured move up. So you can see if you measure this leg, where the correction ends, where the two-legged correction right here ends, two legs down, then I'm expecting that you might get a second similar leg up. So the resistance is looking like it might be holding here, but it's kind of uncertain. You can see prices aren't selling off very strongly, so it's definitely still possible that prices push up and through this resistance level. Let's see what happens. I want to see if maybe there's a, I don't know. We'll just see how this trend ends up playing out. if it's correct, I don't know. Nothing to do here but wait. Definitely not interested in taking a long as prices return to the EMA here, because the short-term uptrend already played out and you're this close, or you're super close to the resistance level. So I'm not interested in a trade right here. Prices are looking really congestive. You can see them stacking inside of this bullish bar. So you can see this bullish bar, or kind of neutral-ish bar, and then you have 1, 2, 3 stacked dojis inside, so that's some congestion. I didn't get great sleep last night. For some reason, I just kept waking up, and then I woke up early this morning. I'm not too terribly tired. I drank a little bit of coffee. Not too much that I'm like super jittery or anything. Okay, this congestive area is continuing to hold. You can see prices, or this bar at least, is struggling to close outside. So it came up and then closed right at this resistance level. This is a tough area to figure out what's going on. There's no trades to take here. Okay, that's a pretty strong sell-off right there. So that tells me this resistance is probably holding, but we're also testing this trend line that I marked earlier. I'm not sure if this is correct, so let's see if it is. And if it is, if it's able to get prices through the resistance level that's right here. Right now, there's kind of mixed messages in the market, so I'm not willing to take any trades right here. I want to see prices push up and through this resistance level in order to take a long. And I'm not interested in a short really at all right now. I have to see a more clear structure to the downside. It's looking like this spiking channel is not going to be correct. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and remove that. That's a pretty strong downtrend. So still to me, it looks like everything has played out to the upside. Now this resistance is holding and we're moving down with a short-term downtrend. Let's see if this ends up being a range. I could see something like right here being a range. So as I mentioned earlier, whenever I drew this spiking channel, I was saying, okay, prices turned up here for some reason. There's probably some sort of support here whether it be a trend line or a horizontal support level. And it looks like the trend line was not correct, but now you can see it is holding as this horizontal support. So we have a short-term downtrend. Let's see if this is able to play out. If this is able to play out and we continue to move lower, then I'll be looking for shorts. So it's looking like prices are indeed inside of this range. So I'm not looking to take anything right now. If prices come up and turn off of this resistance, and then you get a nice setup below the EMA with room to get out before support, then that's whenever I would be interested. But at least right now, I'm not looking for anything, and it's probably unlikely that that setup that I was just talking about is going to happen. Also, what I could be looking for is a break a new low of this downtrend and then a higher low above the EMA coming back within the range here. Both of those are probably low probability occurrences. By low probability, I mean not likely to happen, not that they would be not likely to work out. I think they would both be pretty good trades. It's possible that we do have a larger range in play here. So I don't want to rule that out. At least for right now though, I'm just playing the smaller range. So nothing to do here. Just gotta wait and see what happens. I didn't even bother checking to see if there's any kind of news events, so I'm gonna pull up FX Street, the economic calendar, to see if there's anything, as we're approaching 10 o'clock right now, and that's generally a high volatility time for news. So it looks like at 12:30 there's a Fed speech, and it's not high impact, but it's the next level down. Generally, I don't really pay attention to those ones. So I don't see anything today for the US news that I really need to pay attention to. Okay, we're moving higher than this resistance level, so I'm going to remove this daily range here. I'm expecting prices to come back and test this prior resistance. You can see that the short-term downtrend could not play out, so the bulls are still in control here. So right now I just want to see what are prices going to do as they return to this prior resistance level. Are they going to hold a support and continue higher? If so, then I'm going to start looking for longs, even though I don't see any kind of larger structure yet. There might still be some sort of spike in channel, but this is highly uncertain right now. You can see the short-term uptrend looks like it's being broken right now. It's possible it's a little bit wider, but let's just see what happens. Still, my overall target is this measured move up now that we're continuing higher. Nothing to do right now, just wait and see what happens. Getting some congestion here. You can see prices stacking inside of this bar. So you get this bar, and then you have two dojis inside. That's congestion. Okay, we've moved to a break and new high of this short-term uptrend. Let's see if prices are able to reach the opposite side of this possible spike in channel right here. It's looking like they're going to be able to. So I'm definitely long biased right now. With the short-term uptrend already having played out and prices not having tested this old resistance level, I'm not going to take a long if prices return to the EMA just yet. We're getting pretty close to this measured move right here. Okay, so it looks like we might not actually reach the opposite side of this potential spike in channel. Again, I'm not sure if this is correct. It's weird to me that prices would have not touched it right here. Also, there's not really anything confirming it on the opposite side. So this is highly suspect of a trend. I would not want to play that without seeing probably another confirmation. Okay, we're coming back to test that old resistance level. Let's see if it holds as support. We might also come back within the range. So this is a good signal bar off the EMA, but I'm not interested in this because this short-term uptrend has already played out, and I'm expecting prices to come back and test this resistance level or possibly come back within the range. So I'm not really looking for prices to go higher right here, even though they could definitely go higher. It's also just one leg back. Prefer two. Sometimes I'll take one, but prefer two. So just to recap of what's happened, you have a short-term downtrend that goes into this range that gets a breakout the bottom, and then it looks like a little bit of a breakout at the top before you get a second leg down. It slightly surpasses a measured move. It looks like there's a little bit of an exhaustive move at the end right here. You then get a short-term uptrend up that gets a break and a new high and folds into this minor uptrend. This thing gets broken with the range, but also it looks like a short-term downtrend with a break and a new low for a two-legged correction before we start moving higher. This is whenever I'm starting to look for the measured move right here. This uptrend that tests the break and new high of this trend is strong enough that it requires a break and new high of its own. So you can see there's a trend here that gets a break and a new high, but this trend was, I guess, formed enough and strong enough that it then gets a break and two legs up. So break, one, two legs up of its own. You get a short-term downtrend that is not able to play out. So this one is not able to get its break and new low, which tells me that the bulls are still in control, even though everything to the upside has played out. You get a short-term uptrend that is able to play out with a break and new high, but it turns down right at this old resistance right here, that there was a double top. So it forms this range. You can draw the range lows at this support level where prices were previously not able to play out with the break and new low. You then get another short-term downtrend that is not able to get a break in new low and makes a higher low compared to this one. So that's whenever I would draw this spike in channel here, seeing if this could possibly be correct and pushing prices up and through this range. Now you get a short-term uptrend that gets a break and a new high. You have one leg back. You have one leg back there. That looks like it is also not able to play out, and we're continuing to move higher. So now, let's see what happens. I don't think that short-term downtrend being there is incredibly helpful, so I'm going to delete that. Same with this congestive area. So it's kind of weird, this price action here, so I'd like to see that possibly fit a little bit better on the midline, so I'm going to adjust down a little bit and see if that fits a little bit better. So you can see now you have prices sort of bouncing off of this midline. So let's see how prices react as they come up to this opposite side of the larger trend. We're getting really close to this measured move, and this is my overall target. I would not be surprised if prices shoot up to this measured move and create some sort of overshoot of this possible spike in channel. Lots of times whenever you get this close to a target like this, you'll see prices sort of what I call strive, and they'll go further than what they really should be going in order to basically complete that target, is what it seems like to me. I see that pretty often. So let's see if we get something like that. Right now we're just kind of moving sideways with prices stacking within that bar, stacking within this sort of neutral one. Again, nothing to do here, just waiting. Haven't taken any trades today. In fact, I haven't taken any trades in the past 2 days either. So we'll see. Hopefully there's one today, but it doesn't really matter whether there is or not. I'm just waiting until I see a trade that I really like. As far as Friday goes though, there were a few trades that I would have really liked to have taken, but it was a shorter day for me. I only traded for about an hour, and basically as soon as I hopped off, there were a few really solid trades. So just continuing to move sideways in this congestive area. Nothing to really say or do here. One thing I will say, obviously there's still buying pressure in the market because after the short-term uptrend played out, we still were not able to come back and truly test this old resistance area. Also, like I mentioned, there's a short-term downtrend that's not able to play out. And now you're moving sideways whenever you should be coming back to the EMA. Of course, right as I say that, we come back to the EMA. So now we might potentially hold this midline. If this midline holds and you get a nice higher low above the EMA, I might be willing to take that. at the very least, I'm expecting prices to come back and test this congestive area before they go lower, if they do go lower. Okay, so this midline looks like it might be holding, but this is not an incredibly convincing push off of it. Let's see what happens as prices touch off of this old support level. Are they going to turn down, or are we going to have a failed breakout that leads to a push higher? I still don't know if this larger spike in channel is correct, but it's clear to see that there's bullish momentum right now. So that's why I'm saying that I would potentially still be willing to take a long if one sets up. Okay, that's a pretty strong trade, or pretty strong little
Order
move
submitted.
down.
Order
Signal bar
canceled.
doesn't qualify. It's also pretty congestive here. So you can see now we're stacking within this larger bar right here. So if I draw this, now you have multiple bars stacking within that. It looks like prices might be rejecting off of this old support level, like I mentioned here. So you can see they came down, and then it looks like they're pushing off of that. I would not be surprised if prices create some sort of larger range compared to that tighter congestion area. If this larger uptrend, this larger spiking channel is correct, it's pretty suspect why prices are not reaching the opposite side. You can see they came up short twice, once there and once there. So that tells me that if this is correct, because I'm still not convinced that this is a correct trend, that it's definitely possible and maybe likely that there's a break coming soon. Looks like you have a short-term downtrend here a little bit, so it looks like you might get some sort of two-legged correction down. Prices are struggling to get through this support level. Let's see if this is able to get a break in new low. You can notice that for the past mini downtrends, well, let's see, there's one here, one here, one here. All three of these were not able to get a break in new low. So if, well, there's three, 1, 2, 3. If this one is able to get a break in new low, that tells me that something might be changing here. So let's see. Looking really congestive here, but it looks like we probably will reach this break in new low. Okay, there we go. So, like I said, this is telling me that the bears are maybe not completely in control, but at least they're kind of stepping in here. Let's see how this moves in relation to a measured move. If we surpass this, then again, that's just another clue to me that the bears are starting to step in. Ultimately, I want to see how prices react off of this possible support line for this uptrend. I'm still expecting that this old resistance level from this range could still hold a support, so I'm leaving this as it is, like extended. So this looks a lot like two legs down to me. Does that mean we're going to go higher? No. Could we? Sure. I'm not convinced that this little smaller range right here is correct. but clearly there is some support at this level. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and take that off and just draw the support here. It's also possible the support is lower. Maybe it's something like that. Also want to keep in mind that prices might struggle as they reach this resistance level. This is looking like it could become a little bit of a range of its own. It's actually a perfect measured move from this prior range, which I didn't notice until just now, but look at that. Price is turning down at the exact measured move for the range. So later on, might prices go into some sort of two-tiered range? It's definitely possible. Just have to keep an eye on that. By that I mean, as prices come back down here, if they turn up off of the support level, this could turn into some sort of range where we're seeing prices move up and down between these two support and resistance levels. So this support level seems to continue to be holding. We still haven't made a very convincing test of this old resistance level. Sure, we have come back to this high. You can see prices have tested this previous high right here. But it's still not a very convincing test of that resistance level. The fact that prices aren't able to make a really big, true correction here, that they've really just been moving sideways, definitely tells me that there are still bulls in the market. So even though the short-term downtrend, as I mentioned, did play out, that's not telling me that, hey, it's time to go short. There's just a lot of, I guess, uncertainty right here. It's probably a mixed bag of buyers and sellers. Still haven't reached this measured move up. Still my target. What I'd like to see here, the setup that I would, I guess, most like to see right here, is a failed breakout, this support that comes down and proves to me that this uptrend is correct, and then a move above the EMA. So like a move up and a bounce above the EMA. Pretty unlikely that we'll see that, but that's the setup that I'm looking for right now. So I've still got about an hour and 40 minutes of trading. We're getting close to an hour in. Not an hour into the stream because as soon as I started it, well, kind of as soon as I started it, as soon as the open hit, my internet crapped out on me. I'm not sure if that's because of the open and maybe there was so much data flowing in that I like tripped something with it. I'll have to check into that later. But I'm glad it's working now. So definitely nothing for me to do here. Lots of sideways action, lots of little dojis. This is a really dangerous area to enter. Looks like you might get a good signal bar above the EMA, but I'm not willing to take that because you're so close to this resistance level. And I'm trading 1-to-1. So if I were to draw this target, I think I might have been one off there. Yep. Then you can see we'd be pushing up and through this resistance level. And I don't want to do that. Not to mention all of this congestive area. It's a very uncertain area to trade. Does that mean it won't work? Of course not. But it's not a risk that I'm willing to take. Looks like there might be some sort of short-term uptrend that's pushing prices higher through here. Prices are getting a lot slower here. This is the type of price action that'll lull you to sleep. I can tell I'm just getting more tired just sitting here watching. Again, I would still like to see prices make a fail breakout the support and then come back and give me a higher low above the EMA with room to get out before the support. It's very unlikely that happens, but that is the ideal setup that I'm looking for right now. Plane going by right now. I don't know if the mic is picking that up, but I'm assuming it probably is. At least I think that's a plane. So it looks like this short-term uptrend has a little break and new high of its own right here. I don't really see anything that I would have really liked to take, even in hindsight. As I look back, this trade fits this bar, I think fits the criteria. Not quite, actually, it's 3 ticks from its high, and I'm taking trades that are 2 ticks or less from their high. But either way, I wouldn't want to take that. It's into too much resistance right there. I don't see anything else. This one I mentioned, it's just one leg back to the EMA, even though it's a good signal bar off the EMA. The short-term uptrend had already played out, and I was expecting prices to possibly fade, or at least come back to this resistance level. So this is one that I'm definitely not interested in. I talked about this one right here. Not interested in trading through this resistance. That's one problem that I had in the past a lot, was trading into support and resistance, just because I wasn't sure when it was okay to do so and when not. Because you'll see, well, I learned this from Mac, from Mac's price action trading system, Mac's Pats, and he'll mark trades that sort of go through support or resistance sometimes. So that sort of showed me like, hey, sometimes maybe it's okay to go through. But at least for myself, I find it's better just to try and avoid it at all costs. It's just not worth the risk. There are better trades out there. Another thing about Mac, though, is he's trading just scalping for 1 point, and I'm going for 1-to-1. So many of his trades do have room to get out, like just barely enough room to get out for 1 point. But you would not want to take them for 1-to-1 because you're pushing way too far past the support and resistance. Still pretty slow here. Just waiting to see how prices react at the bounds of this range, the support and resistance of the range. Nothing to do here. It's tempting to go, pull up a video or browse the web or something, but I find that if I do that, then I'm just too distracted. Maybe some people can do it, but I can't. Looks like there might be a slightly wider uptrend right here. Maybe you have something like this. And this might push prices up and through this resistance level. Same thing with this bar that I was talking about earlier. I would not be interested in this one because you're right up to this resistance level, and I'm not going to trade through that. Prices are still looking really, really sideways and really congestive. Look at how many bars are stacking within this big bullish bar. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 with a doji and a couple just kind of neutral bars. Ooh, I'm getting real tired now. Okay, looks like prices might be moving higher here. At least attempting to. Testing off that resistance level, pushing through it. I want to see how prices react here. Are they going to trade back within the resistance level, or are they going to just push up and through? My spiking channel, this larger one that I've been playing, is looking less and less correct. You can see prices came up short here and then did not touch this main side here. So it makes me think this is probably not correct, and I'm going to go ahead and take it off because I don't think it is actually helping me. I do believe there's some sort of uptrend here, but I'm not entirely sure where it is. Could be something based off of these two swings, but that's pretty uncertain too. So I'm not going to play one right now. We're getting pretty close to this measured move, which has been my target since this morning. So it's been my target since about the open, around 9:30. whenever you can tell the prices are moving up. Okay, so we've reached this measured move. It's a pretty strong push right here with a possible overshoot of this uptrend. It's kind of a climactic push right there. So it's possible that this is exhaustive and we're going to turn down now. But let's just watch it and see what's going to happen. I'm still up biased even though we've reached this measured move. There's nothing telling me right now that we are actually going to trade lower. In fact, it's probably more likely that we just trade sideways. Prices don't often just turn on a dime, so you don't usually see a uptrend just play out and then a downtrend start, or vice versa. I want to see if there's anything that fits really well off these highs. Would basically be the spiking channel that I was looking at earlier. Sort of. Let's see if, what prices do up here. Okay, just continuing to move higher. Looks like this is probably not an overshoot of this trend as I was initially thinking. There might be slightly wider trend right there. And we are turning off the possible opposite side of this uptrend. Definitely still up biased here. I want to remember that we've reached this measured move, so I'm going to leave it. Still continuing to move higher, so we're not rejecting off of this level. It's possible this trend is not correct at all. Maybe you have something a little bit steeper. So looks like we are struggling to get through the opposite side of this possible spiking channel up. There's pretty clearly, I think, a short-term uptrend right here that's bumping up against it. So I'm still expecting this short-term uptrend to get a break and new high. Definitely nothing for me to do here. I just want to wait and see what prices do on the next correction. Ideally, I'd like to see them come down to this main trend line again before I'm looking to take a long. But with how strong prices have been, I might be willing to take one before prices reach this level. It just sort of depends on how everything plays out. We still don't have a retest of this breakout right here. So you can see at least this support was holding. The resistance wasn't as pronounced here, but there clearly was a little bit of resistance. So I would expect prices to come back and test this, but also they never really gave a convincing test of this resistance. So that's another sign that clearly bulls are in control, because that's what you expect. After a breakout, you expect prices to at least retest the level they broke out of and possibly come back within. That's not what you're seeing here. So you're not seeing that twice right now, at least. It's still possible this one comes back to test this. Even this one doesn't look like it got a very convincing retest. So there's clearly some sideways action right here. And you can see prices never actually came back to test that. They got pretty close though. So the short-term uptrend is just continuing to work higher. I don't believe there's a very convincing break outside of that yet. It's possible this doji outside is a break. But let's watch to see if it gets a break in new high. This could already be a break in new high, like I said, with this doji kind of closing outside and then this bar being a new high. But I'm not convinced, so I want to see how prices react here. Either way, I'm not looking to take a short. I'm definitely long biased still. Just nothing to do here, not even much to say. Just congesting up at these highs. As I keep pointing out, we are stacking within this bar. So you can see how there's this bullish bar right here. I'll zoom in. There's this bullish bar right here, and then you get a bunch of closes inside. So you get doji, 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 all closing within the open, or the, I guess, the body of this bar. It's not even the body, I guess the wick is in there too, but either way, that's clearly congestion. You are just stacking within this bar. Okay, we're moving down. First place I'm expecting prices to go are the EMA, and with the EMA having held up through here, I'm first expecting that to hold. Next target would be the resistance, the old resistance here, that might end up holding as support. I'm still not convinced that this short-term uptrend has a break in new high. It could be drawn tight like this, in which case this doji is a close outside and you do have a new high. Or it could be drawn a little bit wider, in which case there is no break in new high, and that could be price's target to the upside. This congestion is still holding here. Just a little micro range that prices are struggling to trade outside of. Got a little protein shake here. It's been sitting out all morning and it's starting to get like I don't know, like the protein powder is like, I don't know what to call it, sort of not as mixed in, so I'm gonna shake that up. It's probably gonna be loud here. Yep, there we go. That's much better. I think going forward, I'm going to get a little webcam to put on too. I think it'd be more interesting to watch for one, and two, I can see how I guess my physical tells whenever I am actually trading. So I'm currently reading a book right now called Fear is Fuel, and it's basically about finding your physical tells whenever you're scared. So maybe whenever I'm in a trade, do my shoulders tense up? Do I get like super locked in on the screen? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Who knows what you can learn from that. So still moving in this congestive area. To me, it looks like prices want to come back to the EMA. They also probably want to hit a break new high of here. So we're just sort of trapped between two areas right now. Still struggling to get through this resistance area. I'm still not completely convinced of this spiking channel right here, though prices do seem to be holding it on the opposite side. Of course, right as soon as I say that, prices are looking like they might push up and through here to cause some kind of overshoot if this is correct. But definitely a big question mark for me right now is this uptrend. I'm going to remove these measured moves just to clear up the chart a little bit. Whenever there's too much going on, it sort of bothers me. That's why I draw the short-term trends just with one line, just because whenever you have a bunch of these trends like this, like if you drew every single, trend like this, it's too much on the chart for me. So we still haven't quite hit this break a new high, but we have made a double top here. Looks like we're breaking out of this congestive area. Let's see what's going to happen. Also along those lines, for like I was saying earlier, just having too much on the chart. I used to trade with this, whatever it is, like this mouse on all the time, and now it just drives me nuts. I can't keep this on. It's just like, I don't know, it's too much on the screen. But I like having it whenever I'm looking for like a resistance line like this, so I have a hotkey where I can turn it off and on. So it's possible this little congestive area is expanding into a slightly larger range right here. We're still struggling to reach this break and new high and bumping up against the opposite side of this possible spiking channel. Like I keep saying, I'm not convinced that this is correct. Still just nothing to do here. It's been pretty slow. I'm happy it's not as slow as it has been though. Before the new year, it was really, really, really slow. So it looks to me like this congestive area has just expanded. It doesn't look like it's a perfect measured move. Yeah, it's off from the measured move just a little bit, but clearly there's a little bit of resistance up there. Okay, are we going to be able to hit this break and new high? Let's see. We're really making a good attempt at it, that's for sure. And yep, okay, so the short-term uptrend has now played out with a break and new high. Let's see if prices will now turn down now that this obligation has been fulfilled. Definitely this spiking channel, the opposite side, looks to be like it is still in play here. Definitely playing around there. I see there's 2 people watching. Have you guys taken any trades today? I haven't really seen anything that I'd want to take and that falls within my rules, but I'm sure other people have. So still just nothing to do here, just congesting. The fact that we're not turning down after making that break and new high tells me, I guess there's just still buying. They're still buying in the market. I started that sentence and then I was like, well, I don't really know what I'm going to finish that with. But usually after a trend plays out, to confirm that it has really, really played out, you'll see like a strong move through the EMA. So for example, here you see a uptrend with a break and a new high, and then this uptrend, like I mentioned earlier, was strong enough that it gets a break in 2 legs of its own, and then you get a strong push down and through the EMA, and that sort of confirms to me that my read was correct there. Again, you'll see a short-term uptrend with a break and new high, and then a strong push through the EMA, sort of confirming that that was correct. Here, there is a short-term uptrend with a break and new high, and we do not go through. So this is where you start looking at this and saying, hey, this is probably a pretty strong uptrend, because what you're expecting to the downside is not happening. Again, you're not seeing these short-term downtrends play out, and if this spike in channel is correct, you're not coming back to the main side. Also, you can see all these little dojis working higher, so even within this range, you're seeing lots of like sideways action and lots of little dojis, but each one is making like a higher low and a slightly higher high, so that's a pretty strong trend right there. Okay, we're really pushing this opposite side of this uptrend, so I'm just about to probably take this off and say that it's probably not correct. Either that, or we could be overshooting it. But I want to see how something like this looks. It looks like there could be some sort of trend like this working higher. Clearly there's something that's pushing prices from reaching the EMA here, so I want to see what that is. And it looks like this could be a valid trend that is doing that. Even though we might be overshooting this trend right here, this is such a strong trend that I'll take just about any pullback to the EMA right now. Of course, if we get a very strong push down and through the EMA, and that tells me, hey, maybe this is an overshoot, then I'll think otherwise. But right now, it's looking like this trend is probably not correct. So this larger uptrend is probably not correct, and we're just going to play the smaller trends right here. but I'm going to leave it here just in case this ends up being some sort of overshoot. But just to me right now, it doesn't look like it is an overshoot. Let's see. Maybe if I move this up, we can get the midline to fit well somewhere. Maybe it ends up being something super wide like that, where the old resistance or the old opposite trend line ends up being just the midline. But now that we've pushed up and through that, let's see if prices are able to come back and then hold it before going higher. So that's a possibility, but lots of questions for me right now. I'm not really sure. I'm going to go back to playing this just as a little congestive area. And it looks to me like it was a congestive area with a breakout and a pullback before going higher, where the old resistance is now holding as support. Definitely this minor uptrend is looking like it's correct to me. So if we get a break of this minor uptrend and there's a good signal bar off the EMA, I'm probably going to take that. I put the rules that I'm trading by, just in case anybody's wondering. I put them over here. I can't actually see them on my screen, but the recorder that I'm using allowed me to put a little bit of text there. So just in case you're wondering, that's what I'm looking for as far as the signal bar and the location of trade. Is it completely necessary to just take trades off the EMA? I don't think so. A trend line is actually stronger than the EMA, but historically, those are where I found most of my best trades. There was actually a pretty long period, or a period of like 4 or 5 months, whenever I was doing the best that I was ever doing trading, and I was just following these exact rules. So these types of signal bars off the EMA, and I did quite well. It's not to say that I'll be able to completely replicate that, but we're giving it a shot. So just continuing to work up in this minor uptrend right now. Again, I'm looking for a break of this minor uptrend and a good signal bar off the EMA. Not that I'll take any good signal bar off the EMA, but I would give it quite a bit of leeway because this is a very strong uptrend. Look at all these small dojis working higher. Continuous higher lows, continuous higher highs, except for right here. But still, little dojis working higher. This is a strong trend, so I'm willing to sort of loosen my criteria just a little bit. Of course, I'll still follow my rules, but I'm willing to take something that maybe I wouldn't take in a range type of area. So it looks like we came up short a little bit from the opposite side, and now we're moving down, so there might be a break here. A little bit of a congestive area, even though there's not a doji, there's clearly some stack bars. So this could be a little bit of a failed breakout trade, looking for a break and new high of this uptrend. So let's say we get a close outside and a really nice bullish signal bar off the EMA. Could be a little bit of a failed breakout here, looking for this break and new high, and that might be the trade right there. But we'll have to see if it sets up. Right now, this bar is not touching the EMA, so I'm not willing to take that. Okay, it's looking sort of promising. So in order for me to consider this as a possible trade, it needs to tick below this bearish bar right here. So we'd need to tick below this bearish bar and then close as a bullish bar in order for me to be interested. So right now I am interested in the context, but I need to wait for this very specific thing to happen before I'm actually willing to take a trade. So let's just wait and see if it happens. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's looking less likely. Now the prices are sort of moving higher here. And ideally, what I like to see in a signal bar is I would have liked to see this go ahead and tick below pretty early on and then continuously build up throughout the bar instead of this sort of action where it, it came down, now it's trading up and down and up and down and up and down. It's kind of like a little range within one bar. You'd like to see a strong trend within that bar. So if you went to a smaller tick chart, then you'd see, right now, you'd see prices just moving up and down in a range-like fashion. So now we're getting a pure doji of a bar here. It's not a great sign for the setup. So you get a small little leg back. So maybe you'll get something like a short-term downtrend here with a break and a new low and a good signal bar off the EMA. That could be a setup that I would be looking for. So this midline was clearly not held. Completely forgot about this one. So I previously had it here, and then I moved it up where the midline was potentially holding as the resistance here, and then might hold as support, but prices just came back and just traded right through it. So that tells me that's probably not correct, and it is still possible this is an overshoot. But usually whenever there's an overshoot, you expect a strong move in the opposite direction. So after an overshoot, usually what you'd see is like a strong leg down through the EMA. And that's not to say this won't happen, because clearly prices are testing that right now. But yeah, let's just check and see. Prices are moving down pretty strongly here. So this is becoming a little bit more of a questionable area as far as what's going to occur. So you still have this minor uptrend that I do believe is correct. That does not have a break in new high. So prices could move up to this break in new high, but it's looking to me like this might be an overshoot of this spiking channel. It is still a pretty strong trend right here, but you're now closing below the EMA. So you might be saying something has changed. So from what looked like it might have been a good setup now to quite a questionable area for me. Still have about one more hour of trading. For me at least. So there might be a short-term downtrend right here, pushing lower. Let's see what prices do here, whether they're able to close back above the EMA or if we're going to continue to stay below. I am a member of Max Price Action Trading Forum, so I'm going to check out his midday chart. He posts a chart around 10:30 each day of what he's seeing. So I'm going to check that out and see if maybe there's a trend line that I'm missing here, because I'm definitely uncertain about this spike in channel up. And it looks like he does have something a little bit different than I do. So let's play a little bit with what he's got there. Looks like he's starting his from down here, which I did not even think about. So let's put that there. And he has the midline about right there. So it's similar to what I was thinking, but also a little bit different. This trend to me looks a little bit weird, and generally I don't really find trends like that. So it does look like there's some type of channel that's working down here. Not entirely sure. Maybe it's something like this. So I'm pausing, looking for longs right now. This channel looks to me like it's going to necessitate at least some type of retest. So even if we got a nice push above the EMA with a good signal bar, I'm probably not going to take that right now. So I'm not willing to take a short here either. The bias is too strongly up. And we haven't had a really strong push. This is kind of just like a choppy move down. It doesn't tell me that this is really strong. I think I slept a little wrong last night because I got a crick in my neck. I hate this feeling. Kind of hurts to turn my head. Well, even though we've had a pretty nice uptrend today, there hasn't been a lot that I've been interested in. And sometimes it's just like that. That's all right. So just continuing to methodically move lower here. Still nothing for me to do. It might be a little while before I'm willing to take a trade now. So assuming this major uptrend, this large uptrend is correct, then ideally I'd like to see prices coming off of this main support side right here. We still haven't gotten a convincing retest of this breakout, so that's my first target. So we'll have to see how prices react there. I'm going to stop extending this one because even though we don't have a very, very convincing retest of this breakout, there were kind of a few tests right here. So maybe it is truly a little bit higher. So maybe the highs were something like right here, and these are a couple retests. So that's definitely a possibility there. Still thinking that we could possibly hold this resistance as support though. So let's see how prices come down. So now if this downtrend gets a break, a new low, and then a nice push above the EMA, that's whenever I would potentially be interested. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Our price is going to come and bounce off of here. Is this downtrend going to get a break in a new low? And then we're going to see the momentum come back in. Those are the two things that I'm looking for, but I'm not at all interested in a short right now. This uptrend still doesn't have a break in new high, this minor uptrend. So I think that that is a magnet that might pull prices up there. And that's why I'm saying that I might be willing to take a long even before prices come back to this main channel. So now that we've broken the downtrend, let's see if prices are able to reach a break in new low. I would not be willing to take just a higher low above the EMA here. Sometimes I am, but in this case, it's not something that I'm willing to take. It looks like you found support off of this same level from earlier. So we had this prior congestive level that made a double bottom. Or I mean, this is technically a lower low, but it looks like a double bottom. And it looks like we're finding support off that same exact level. So now let's say after this break, we come back and we test this support level again and it holds, and then we get a nice strong push and a higher low above the EMA. That's a different story. Then I would probably be interested in going long. So that is a pretty strong push through the EMA, a nice close through there. I'm now sort of rethinking if I do want to take a higher low here. I'm not sure. Just have to see what the market gives us. So this looks like the first test of the downtrend to see if we can reach that break a new low. The support was pretty strong though, so I'm not sure if we'll be able to get through that. One thing that I think is worth noting is that we were able to make a lower low than this previous one. So you can see here is a low, we make a lower low there, and then we make another lower low right there. So is the momentum to the upside waning? That's what I'm asking myself right now. So let's see what happens as we test this support. All right, so far it's held. We've closed exactly at it. We're looking pretty sideways here. As I said, the trade that I would be probably most interested in right here is, now that we've tested the support, if this holds and then we get a nice push above the EMA with a good signal bar, that would basically be a failed second entry short. So you can see there would be this low, and then we would have tested it once, tried it once, and then we would have tried it again, and then sometimes that can be a trap to go higher. So support is continuing to hold. We still haven't hit the breaking new low, but we're getting pretty dang close. Okay, we closed below the support. I'm thinking that it's probably not going to hold now. Looking like we'll probably hit the break and new low for the downtrend. So if we get a break and new low and then a higher low above the EMA, that would be interesting to me. Looks like this midline of the major trend might be coming into play. So this midline might be coming into play. You can see it sort of held here. We'll see if it's able to hold here. I'm not convinced of this major uptrend though, this larger uptrend. Lots of times these wider trends are just not very reliable, and it's better for me to play the shorter term trends. Okay, we hit the break and new low. So now I'm going to be looking for a higher low above the EMA with a strong push up. There's two reasons why I'd be looking for that, or I guess a few reasons. First off, like I mentioned earlier, I think that prices want to test this break and new high of this minor uptrend. The downtrend has now played out, so there's nothing pulling prices down. There's no obligation pulling prices down. And you have a failed break below this support area. So lots of times you'll fade these, and this will act as sort of a springboard for prices to go higher. So that's why I'm considering taking a long here, even though we're not back to this main trend line, which might be correct. We've now tested this support, or this old resistance level. So you can see prices have now tested that. So that was my first target to the downside, and it looks like it might be holding here. We'll have to watch and find out. So this is shaping up to be a trade that I might like to take. Let's see if we can get a nice close through the EMA. Okay, that's a pretty strong push right there. So are we able to close strongly? Ideally, what I'd like to see is a nice strong close here, and then a higher low as prices bounce off the EMA to go higher. So again, that's what I'm looking for right now. I would even accept a failed second entry short here, so instead of just a higher low, if we attempted it twice. But we'll just have to see what it gives us. So it's not looking like this is going to be an incredibly strong close. We might even close below the EMA, in which case I would be a lot less interested here. This wick is showing some rejection. This is a pretty neutral close right here. It's definitely not incredibly strong. I would still consider a setup here, but it's not exactly what I was looking for. It's another really neutral bar right there. I would still consider a higher low if it sets up right. It's looking really congested though. So I'm getting less interested as prices are going. Again, what I really wanted to see was 2 legs down and then a nice strong push above and a strong signal bar for a higher low. But this to me looks like prices have, yes, they have sort of pushed above the EMA, but not in a very strong way, and now they're going very, very sideways. So clearly this is a pretty neutral bar, and then you have a pure doji. Even though it ends on its high, this is just a doji, and then this bar, even if it ends on its high, this is really a doji as well. I mean, prices just were meandering the entire way through the bar, and then sort of looked like they chance closed on their high. But we'll see. Maybe we methodically work higher. Maybe there's some sort of short-term uptrend that's working up here. So we'll have to see. Maybe there's a higher low that I'll be willing to take. Gonna zoom in a little bit here. Generally, I like to see the whole picture so that way I don't forget what's happening. But as I sort of close in on possibly taking a trade, I'll zoom in. So clearly short-term uptrend. Looks like we are making a higher high here. So let's see what happens. Sometimes this gets a little bit difficult for me after not taking a trade for so long. Sometimes I'll force an entry. So I need to be careful that that's not what I'm doing here. So before this trade really sets up, I want to double check my assumptions and make sure that this is actually an area that I might want to take a trade. So you have your 2 legs down, move up, break, new high. This gets a 2 legs to a new high of its own. Looks like you go into some sort of spiking channel, whether it's this one or another one. For range, that has a break, and looks like you test that range before going higher. Go into another range that forms right at the measured move. Oh, not quite at the measured move if you move it higher like I did. You have a break out of that, 1 leg down, break, new low, test the resistance, and we're now moving higher. So we didn't get the higher low that I was looking for, at least here. It's not to say that you still can't get it, but really what I would have liked is to see that higher low just right here, just right above the EMA, popping above right there. So now if we get a higher low, I would be scared that it's moved a little bit too far. But let's see what happens. You might even get some sort of two-legged correction, but you are getting pretty close to this break and new high. And after we reach the break and new high here, I'm not going to be looking for longs anymore because that's my target. That's the reason why I'm looking to take a long. So basically, once we reach this level, I'm no longer interested in taking longs. I would say if we do pull back and have a nice higher low right here, I'm not going to take it because prices have now moved so far. So this has moved a little bit too far for me, but if you have a two-legged pullback, even on a smaller scale to the EMA here, then I would still be interested. Just have to see what sets up. Just take whatever the market is going to give me and not force any trades. Still got about 40 more minutes. Something interesting that I did not notice earlier is that this support level right here is exactly at the measured move. So just thinking about why that might have happened. So let's say if this is going up and there's a lot of sell orders right here. I wonder if there were any orders that were like left behind somehow. And then they got filled as prices were coming back around here. That could be a potential, but clearly you can see the measured move is now holding a support right there. So here we go. We might get this this higher low that I was talking about, but I would not be willing to take this because we've now moved too far. But if we get some sort of two-legged pullback, then I would be interested. I'm curious to see if prices are going to be able to hold the EMA here. You can see the EMA is looking really, really flat. So we have a close below, close above, close below. This is looking like range-like action. So we might be folding into some sort of sideways action as opposed to trending up like we have been. And that is something that I noted earlier. Whenever this short-term downtrend played out, I was saying, okay, something might change, especially seeing this minor trend play out. So this minor trend right here, seeing that play out, that definitely tells me that something might have changed here. And as I mentioned earlier, lots of times prices won't change on a dime. So we were trending up. Before we start trending down, if we start trending down, you're likely to see some sort of range-like action in the middle. So it's not very often that you'll see prices just go straight up to straight down. So like from an uptrend straight to a downtrend. And I'm not saying you will go into a downtrend, but it's looking like you're going into a range type area, which could then lead to a downtrend, is what I'm trying to say. So now the question will be, where are the range bounds? So now that we've closed below this EMA again, this is looking a lot like a range to me. We could get another leg up somewhere to reach the break and new high of this trend to complete that. But right now I'm just sort of thinking, where are the range bounds? So I'm going to pull this back a little bit and start taking a look to see where these might be. It's possible that they are here and here, like I kind of have them drawn, but it would be a little bit odd to have this breakout and then still have the range hold. It just doesn't look quite right. So I'm going to look at something just using the highs and the lows. So basically this last high and then this last low, and then let's see if this holds as a range. Nothing for sure yet. It's possible that this support ends up coming into play as well, still. So a little bit uncertain, definitely not interested in taking a trade just right now. This is a good signal bar off the EMA and does technically fit my rules, but as I said, I'm not looking to take a higher low right here because prices moved so far, and now then again they closed below the EMA. It's looking more sideways than anything. So maybe if we get some sort of two-legged pullback and then a move above, maybe I'm still willing to. But now that we've already had this one leg up, I'm less willing to take a long. So originally I was looking for a break and new high of this minor uptrend, and I still think that that is a possibility. But now that we've had this this two-legged correction and this one leg up, this might be sort of the retest attempt. We'll just have to wait and see. We might start this second leg up, see what happens. Continuing to look really sideways and congestive, making me really not interested in any kind of long right here. Nothing much to say here. The price is just working sideways. Waiting to see if the range parameters get confirmed. I'll be on for about 30 more minutes. Shaping up to be another day with no trades. But a day with no trades is better than a day with a loss. And it's entirely possible that after waiting all this time, so let's say I don't take a trade today and I end up taking one tomorrow, it could be a loss. And that can be pretty hard mentally for me a lot of times after waiting so long and then taking a loss. So, you know, I'm still waiting on the best thing that I can. And I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it definitely could. And if it does, you know, that's okay. You just have to move on and wait for the next one. It's all a probabilities game. Just continuing to move sideways and stack within that big bearish bar. Yeah, this is whenever it gets really, really boring. Just a lot of sideways action, congestion, not much going on. This might be a really slow last half an hour right here. I'm wondering if there's maybe some sort of spike in channel going on here. Looks like that's pretty close, but I don't know about all that. Could be something like that going on. To me, this fits better than the trend that Mac had, that larger trend that was just on there. But it might not be right. I mean, at least there's 1, 2, 3, I mean, close to 4 touches right there, but definitely 4 touches right there. And a couple touches on the opposite side. And then prices look to be sort of playing off of this midline here. So this, like, it looks more valid to me, but I don't know. I probably would not play that quite yet. It'd have to be proven for me, that's for sure. It's also a little bit odd to be playing off of, like, to be starting the trend off of this level. Usually you start it off of the low, or at least the body of the low, and this is off this body, but I'm kind of starting it right here to count those as like 2 touches. And that's a little bit weird. So now this short-term uptrend has a double top. It's possible that the range is lower, maybe something like this. If there is a range. I mean, there could still not be a range there at all. I'm just expecting that there might be one, so I'm jumping the gun and drawing something there. It's also really easy to just zone out and not pay attention in these types of areas. But I think it's still important to pay attention, because you never know when something's going to change, and things can change very, very quickly. So there was a period of time whenever I would keep a book out, and whenever prices got really slow and there wasn't really anything going on, I wasn't seeing a trade that I was interested in taking, I would read. And the reason that I was doing that was to keep myself from taking any bad trades, for one, in areas that I knew I wasn't interested. 2, I was also just bored. And 3, I chose a book because it was not as immersive, not as interesting as browsing around on the web. So if you go to like watch a YouTube video or something, you can easily get sucked in and not pay attention at all. And I thought that a book would be a little bit better because there's not as much going on, you know. And I was wrong, because I would end up reading and I would get into it, and because my eyes were looking down, at the page, then sometimes I would get into whatever chapter it was or whatever it is, and then I'd look up and be like, oh shit, well I missed a trade. And yeah, so I think it's better just to watch, even if it is a little bit boring and sometimes painfully boring. Like right now, this is it's kind of like watching paint dry. I've also tried listening to podcasts. I don't mind listening to a podcast. That's a little bit better because it at least doesn't take my eyes away from the screen. But it is still distracting, and whenever I'm reading the chart, I think it works on the same sort of part of my brain that language does. Mac always says that price action is a language, and whenever I'm trying to listen to music that has words, it can really distract me. So I think that the podcast is similar in that region of my brain that is processing, I think, the words is sort of trying to work double time. So it's better just to watch. So we've now hit the break and new high for the short-term uptrend. So that's played out. You have a short-term uptrend with a break and 2 legs up. It's looking like this range where I initially had it is probably not correct, but maybe it's a little bit higher. Maybe it's just 1 tick higher, just like that. Again, there might not be a range there. I'm just expecting that there might be, so I'm going ahead and drawing something. Doubtful that you'll hit this measured move, at least in this swing. I'm gonna go ahead and take that off, actually. Still just moving sideways. Looks like even though you did make a slight higher high there to make the break new high of the short-term uptrend, it really looks like a triple test. So you can see 1, 2, 3 tests. You still have not hit the break new high of this one right here. I'll color that yellow just to remember that that is a possible target. But now that this uptrend has played out early and you did not hit that, I'm severely doubting that you will hit that break new high. Also, with this uptrend that I have drawn, this wider uptrend that I drew, it's concerning that prices are not pushing away and off here up to the opposite side, and they're struggling to get through the midline. So that shows that definitely the buying power is waning, like I have been pointing out for the past hour or so. Well, prices just can't give up trying that one, so giving it another attempt to hit the break and new high. Let's see if this resistance is able to hold. I wonder what's the delay on this live stream. Looks like it might be like a minute or so. Okay, we're testing the resistance again. Let's see if we're able to push up and through to break a new high. Looks like we're turning down off this resistance again. Prices look to be kind of wedged between the EMA and that resistance, causing congestion. So you can see that. Clearly congestion here as prices are stacking. But it looks like they're sort of wedged between the EMA there and this resistance. And it's tough to know which one's going to win out. Okay, pushing up and through. Let's see if we're able to hit the break and new high, that yellow target right there. I was yawning there. Okay, so we were able to hit the break and new high of this uptrend. So that has now played out. Can remove that. And let's see if prices are able to continue to move higher. Again, I'm expecting prices to come back and test this resistance area. I'm going to remove the range because that is not feeling like it is correct. But clearly, this resistance area was there and appears to be correct. So I'm expecting prices to come back and test that. So now that this is played out, that was my target to the upside, but it's possible that prices continue to move higher here. So I want to see if maybe there's some other trend that could be working higher. This is starting to look like it could be a strong uptrend again with all of these small bars working higher, but I'm not convinced. So I need to see what's going to happen now that we've hit this target. Are we going to turn down or are we going to continue higher? It's unfortunate whenever I am most sure what's going to happen that there haven't been any setups. So most of the time, whenever I'm looking at this chart, I'm not sure what's going to happen. So I'm not looking for a setup, and that's sort of the context aspect. But sometimes I am pretty sure it's going to happen, like whenever we had this uptrend and I'm expecting a break in new high. So after these two legs down, if you got this higher low here, that's whenever I'm pretty sure I know what's going to happen. I'm pretty sure prices are going to test this high, but you don't get a setup there. And I think that was might have been really one of the only times that I was looking at possibly taking a trade. There was one short that I think I was looking at possibly taking, but I can't remember exactly where that was. But it didn't end up setting up right, I remember. I think it was somewhere in here. Yeah, it was somewhere in here. So I was looking at possibly taking a short after the uptrend got a break and new high, and then the retest trend had a break and 2 legs up. So I was looking at possibly taking a short there, expecting prices to continue down. But you don't get a setup. So, sometimes it helps you, because I thought that I was pretty sure what was going to happen. But then I don't get the good signal bar and I don't get the setup that I was looking for. Here you don't get a setup, even though I was pretty sure what was going to happen and I was right. But that's why you have to wait for the setup. It's looking like this trend is probably not correct. It's possible that you do have something maybe like this, but even that doesn't really look correct. This looks really choppy and sideways, so chances are there's not a trend there. I'm thinking that this trend, if it's correct, this spiking channel that I have drawn, is probably going to be broken soon. I think this is basically the same spiking channel that I had drawn earlier in the day. It's close, at least. I think I'll have to double check. I know I had one that was here, but I think before that I might have had this almost exact one. I'm not sure though, I'll have to double check after the stream ends. I'm tempted to just call it a day and go ahead and hop off, but there is, of course, the chance that there is a good trade. So let's say what I might be looking for right now is if prices come down and touch off this trend line and there's a very strong rejection, then I might take it. But like I said, right now I'm sort of picturing that this trend is probably going to break with how weak prices have been coming off of this side. So look how weak this is. Prices aren't even able to get through the midline, and they're super choppy and sideways, and the EMA is going flat. So there's a lot of reasons to think that this is probably going to break. But it's possible. You just kind of have to wait until prices, or at least I'm waiting until prices show me what they're going to do. So again, like if we came off of this and it was super strong and you get a nice strong push and then a good bar above the EMA, maybe I'll consider that. But chances are I'm not going to take any trades in these last 10 minutes. All right, yeah, I'm gonna call it. I'm getting really, really tired, really bored, and there's almost no chance that there's gonna be a setup here that I'm interested in. Well, I don't know. Now I'm on the fence. Okay, I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay for the last few minutes. All right, now I'm ready to call it. This is looking congestive. Even if we come down here and prices push off of here and get a possible setup off the EMA, this is just so sideways that I'm just not interested. So I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. I hope whoever it is that was on here enjoyed. Whoever it is that's maybe listening and maybe was watching this whole time. If you're gonna continue to trade, then hope you have a good rest of your trading day. So I'll see you possibly, or whomever, possibly tomorrow. I'm not sure if I'll be trading. I know I have a potential meeting with a wedding planner on sometime around like lunchtime or whatever. So I might just not trade the whole day. But we'll see if that ends up happening. And yeah,